Some staff members at Sefako Makgatho Health Sciences University in Pretoria have embarked on strike action, which has entered its second day. Members of the Academic and Professional Staff Association are demanding a 7% salary increase, while the institution's management is only willing to grant them a 5% hike. The workers say their current remuneration cannot sustain the high interest rates, cost of living and inflation. Joining us is Vusi Mahlangu, APSA National Organiser. Vusi, appreciate your time this afternoon. Just bring us up to speed with what's transpired in the last 2 days of strike action.
Thank you very much, Hugo. The CCMA declared a dispute and issued out a certificate on Monday. We issued 48 hours to the university that will be embarking on the strike because the employers offering the workers 5.7%, while workers demand 7%. The strike started yesterday. It was quite peaceful. No major accidents happened. Today, when workers came for the second day of the strike, they were met with the might of the police, where workers who were peacefully demonstrating at the main gate of the university, which is a designated area for the picketing. They were shot at, they were rubber bulleted, and strand grenades were shot at them. It was to our surprise that the two leaders of the protest were arrested earlier this morning. It's only now, plus minus 30 minutes ago, that eventually we managed to release them. Workers are currently in a mass meeting trying to plan on the next action. The feeling on the ground is that the protest action shall continue until all the demands of the workers are met. We will be joined by the various student formations that have also pledged support of their parents that are working in the university.
Vusi, has peace since? Do you have peace now at where you are at the moment?
Currently, the peace has been restored since our leaders are back. They are currently addressing the mass meeting. They are currently strategizing and planning on the way forward on how we intensify the strike. The feeling on the ground, though, is that we are planning next week to intensify, and we are planning a mother of all protests wherein we are going to involve our fellow comrades in solidarity from other universities around the capital and other affiliates of SAFTU, and perhaps we might even invite the national leadership of SAFTU itself. Next week is a do or die until workers get their demanded 7%.
Well, you suggested that the police were pretty hostile this morning. Now, if you intensify the strike action, are you prepared for what the police may do if that is the case come next week?
Well, the manner in which the police treated the workers, they have made workers to reach an attitude of do or die, because when you are provoked, you are left with no option but to retaliate. And the feeling that the workers currently have is that police can bring whatever they want to bring, but they will continue with the protest action because this is bread and butter for them. The peanuts that the university is offering is otherwise linked directly with the cost of their own living. Therefore, they are prepared to shed blood for what they believe that is rightfully theirs.
Vusi, I suppose the irony is that the dispute is with the university and not with the police per se. There now seems to be a third player in the equation, which is the police, and which seems to be aggravating those that are striking at the moment.
Well, we cannot rule out the instruction of the university to this particular police. In our attempts to engage them to say, what are the police doing here? They say they are not involved. The police came on their own. But we know with the kind of management and how criminal and cruel they are, these police were called by them. They were given an impression that were violent. A wrong impression was given to these police that were here to disturb traffic, were here. You know, the university is just next to the main road. The main gate is next to the main road. So we believe very deeply that they were given a wrong impression by this management to come here and ensure that they provoke workers so that they can run to labor court and seek and interdict this particular strike. It is otherwise part of the tactic by management to demobilize the workers. It's part of a tactic by management to demoralize workers and further divide the workers on the basis of them being shot at, some being arrested, and so forth and so forth. So management and the employer is not innocent in this particular instance, Hugo.
Well, Vusi, the difference in where you are, which is 5.3%, in fact 5.3%, which is what has been offered by the university from what we understand, and the workers requiring 7% is 1.7%. Are you convinced that there is no negotiation that can lead to some resolution?
Well, we attempted. As we have said in the beginning, the talks have been ongoing for 3 months. The employer is not willing to move. And you can realize that he is negotiating in bad faith. And even the very 7% is below the projected inflation rate, which by 0.2%. Then that tells you that even the very 7% is still very low compared to what is projected to be the inflation in this particular country. The 5.7 is otherwise ridiculous. It's otherwise saying you are reducing salaries of this particular workers if we were to take the projected inflation into mind. And with the arrogant management that we have, that is not even willing to move, it left workers with no option but to embark on a protest action. There were attempts made several times. The matter was taken to CCMA for mediation. Even the commissioner could realize that we are dealing with criminals that are aimed at ensuring that workers remain in poverty. It is therefore on those bases that workers were left with no option. We tried, Hugo, to engage with this arrogant management.
Vusi, you mentioned the CCMA and that they came in for a process of mediation. What was the outcome of that mediation?
We declared the dispute. Hence, we got the certificate of non-resolution, and we got picketing rights, and we are on strike. So the strike is quite protected. The CCA intervention failed dismally to resolve the impasse.
Okay. Now talk to us about how the strike action has affected university operations. Obviously, learners are impacted. Can you speak to us about that?
Yeah, well, it's so unfortunate that as part of our members as academics, admin staff, cleaners, security officers, landscaping, it will obviously affect the smooth running of the university. It is on those bases, out of consent, the student movement and the SRC in particular came to us as leaders of labor and asked, why are you disrupting? What is happening? When we explained to them the dispute, they said, therefore, as students, they are in solidarity. The disruption has not been as major, but I suspect that next week, when all other stakeholders that have not been involved start getting involved, we might have a situation wherein the university is completely shut down. Hugo.
Now, let's come back to the university and their reasons for not upping their offer of 5.3% to the 7% that the workers are asking for.
Well, a typical employer on the basis of exploitation, they argue that they cannot afford 7%, whereas we know with the amount of wasteful expenditures that are there in the university, that our members who work in admin and across the university, they see on a daily basis that it is otherwise lies that the university cannot afford the 7%. It is otherwise aimed by some in management, especially in finance, to save the university money so that they can solicit for themselves private bonuses. There is this culture that CFOs and COOs, when they save university money, they are given some form of bonuses, and therefore it is a selfish interest by some in management and the VC in particular to solicit those particular bribes for senior and executive management by saving university money, which is otherwise not meant to be saved, is meant to save the university, and amongst that is put the bill of salaries. So it's a blue lie that the university does not have money. We are aware that it has money. It is just saved for the bonuses of managers in top executive management.
Because I'd imagine that you have instances of wasteful expenditure that you can speak to us about that you're aware of.
Yeah, well, I can make an example of unnecessary consultation processes that the university embarks upon, wherein certain individuals are given huge amounts of money for the work that can be done by workers in the university. That is one, but an example. An example is the utilization of private securities, where every time when there's a protest, only to find that there are securities that are capable of doing that. The examples are many, Hugo. I can go on until our time is up.
Well, our time is up at this moment. Vusi Mahlangu, appreciate your time this afternoon. And he's the national organizer of APSA, speaking to us about the Sefako Makgatho Health Science University wage strike and declaring that come next week they will be upping the ante. You're watching News.